What's happening around the world and what's happening here at home?
Good evening and a very warm welcome to Primetime News here on TV1. It's the 25th of October 2023. For the Newsfirst team, I am Peruni Karunaratna.
And I'm Sandro Ferdinando. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Chinese research vessel arrives at the Colombo port as planned amidst contradictory claims. The vessel will only conduct a research of the seabed. Parliamentarian Vimal Veeravansa, who returned from China, claims in Parliament. US Ambassador meets Central Bank Governor. Says all parties must be treated equally and fairly in debt restructuring talks. Negatives to the port tour and positives for others. Namal criticizes President's cabinet reshuffle and coalition politics. SLPP Parliamentarian Rohita says the government will not collapse. Minister turned back by teachers in Nibagamwa.
In your top story for tonight, the Chinese research vessel, which Foreign Minister Ali Sabri claimed was not allowed to dock in Sri Lanka in the month of October, arrived at the port of Colombo today.
The Shiyan 6 arrived at the port of Colombo after spending more than a month in the Indian Ocean.
This is how the Shiyan 6 appeared on the automatic identification system this evening. The vessel is currently moored at the South Asia Gateway Terminal of the Colombo port. It set sail from the Chinese port of Guangzhou on the 11th of September and entered the Indian Ocean on the 19th of September. Its voyage included navigating the 19th ridge in the exclusive economic zone of India, in the Indian Ocean and other locations as well. This vessel's journey gave rise to much controversy due to the intense attention India paid to the matter. In August, prior to its departure from China, the Sri Lanka Navy announced that the ship's arrival in Sri Lanka will take place on the 25th of October. However, due to India's response to diplomats at the highest level, the arrival of the Chinese research vessel at the port of Colombo was delayed. Meanwhile, Minister of Foreign Affairs President's Counsel Ali Sabri, while in New York, told India's ANI news service on the 25th of September that the Chinese vessel has not been approved to enter Sri Lankan waters.
Yeah, that's a conversation going on for some period of time. India has expressed its concerns for a long period of time. But we have now come out with a SOP, standard operate procedure. When we were making that, we consulted many of our friends, including India. So as long as they comply with the SOP, we have no problem. But if it doesn't comply with the SOP, we have a problem. So therefore, as far as I know, we have not given the permission to come to Sri Lanka during the month of October. So there are negotiations going on, but Indian security concerns, which are legitimate, are very, very important for us. We have always told that because we want to keep our region as a zone of peace.
This is the response given by the President before his visit to China, when China's CGTN channel inquired about the Foreign Minister's statement.
科考船实验6将会在这个月访问斯里兰卡，并且跟斯里兰卡展开为期3个月的水域研究。可是在这个问题上，也有一些个别的国家向斯里兰卡施压。我注意到斯里兰卡的外长在纽约参加联大会议的时候，已经非常明确地表示说，斯里兰卡是一个中立国家，对待所有的国家都一视同仁，一律平等。那您在这个问题上的立场是什么样的？
අපේ රටේ ප්‍රතිපත්තිය විදේශ ඇමතුමා ප්‍රකාශ කරේ චීන එක ගණ දෙනු අපි චීන එක කරනවා ඇමරිකාව එක ගණ දෙනු ඇමරිකාව එක කරනවා ඉන්දියාව එක ගණ දෙනු ඉන්දියාව එක කරනවා ප්‍රංශ එක ගණ දෙනු ප්‍රංශ එක කරනවා ඒවා අපි මිශ්‍ර කරන්නේ නැහැ අපි ස්වාධීන රටක් හැටියට අපිට තියෙන වාසි අවාසි දිහා බලලා ඒ රටවල් එක්ක අපි ගණ දෙනු කරන්නේ. ඉතින් එතුමා ඇත්ත කිව්වේ වෙලේ.
However, the Chinese research vessel arrived at the port of Colombo on the day it was originally planned. A senior official from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated that the vessel arrived in Colombo to procure supplies and for refueling. The official also said that permission has been given for the matter. The National Aquatic Resources Research and Development Agency, or NARA, confirmed that 4 of its representatives received permission from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to board the Shiyan 6. However, It was reported that as of 2 p.m. today, a specific date had not been provided for them in this regard. Nara said that the University of Ruhuna had entered an agreement with the Xi'an 6 vessel on conducting research activities. In view of the controversial situation that had arisen, the University of Ruhuna announced that it will withdraw from conducting research activities. China revealed that the vessel would spend 80 days at sea, conducting 28 scientific research projects with 12 research teams covering a vast area of over 12,000 nautical miles.
Meanwhile, parliamentarian Bimal Veeravansa says that the Chinese research vessel arrived in Sri Lanka based on an agreement between Nara and China to conduct research of the ocean bed.
ඇත්තටම ගත්තොත් දැන් චීනේ සහ අපේ නාරා ආයතනය ඉවසුම්ගත වෙලා තියෙනවා අපේ සාගර කලාපයේ පතුල.
China and Nara have entered into an agreement to survey Sri Lanka's ocean bed. As per that agreement, a Chinese research vessel was to reach Sri Lanka in early October. However, due to the influence of another country, the Sri Lankan government sought the delay in the vessel's arrival. If a governance adopts a foreign policy that seeks to delay the arrival of a vessel due to the influence of a third party, then it would be impossible for us to seek support from a country like China. We in Sri Lanka start to shiver every time our big brother in the north stares at us, and also when our bigger brother in the west does the same. In the process, we lose our close allies, and we think that those big brothers are our allies, but they are only interested in what they can take from here.
Parliamentarian Bimal Veeravansa made this revelation when he returned to Sri Lanka yesterday after participating in the One Belt and Road Summit held in China. The President had also attended this conference.
I got a special invitation from the Chinese government to attend the Belt and Road Initiative conference. Sri Lanka is a party to that Belt and Road Initiative project of China. I got an invitation in my capacity as a political party leader to attend the 10th anniversary of that project and also to attend several events that were held on the sidelines of it. If you look at countries like Ethiopia and many other countries are part of this project aims at developing infrastructure in countries along the Silk Route and to develop the lives of the people there. The Prime Minister of Ethiopia attended the conference and he delivered a speech. Unfortunately, the President of our country did not get that opportunity. All the countries that were a part of this project had developed significantly in the recent past.
කනගාටුයි අපේ රටේ ජනාධිපතිවරයාට ඒ අවස්ථාව ලැබුණේ නැහැ. ඒ ව්‍යාපෘතිය ආවරණය වෙච්ච හැම රටකම විශාල ආර්ථික වර්ධනයක් පසුගිය අවුරුදු 10 තුනද සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා.
I was not the one who decided as to which aircraft I will be taking. It was the country that was sponsoring the event. Friends, enemies and people who I know and don't know travel on aircrafts. The President was invited in his capacity as the head of state of a country that is part of the Belt and Road Initiative. I was invited in my capacity as a leader of a political party, and this was a separate invitation.
ආරාධනාව ලැබුණේ රාජ්‍යනායකයා හැටියට බෙල්ට් ඇන්ඩ් රෝඩ් ව්‍යාපෘතියට අදාළ රටක් නිසා රාජ්‍යනායකයා හැටියට එතුමට ආරාධනාව ලැබුණා. මට ආරාධනාව ලැබුණේ දේශපාලන පක්ෂ නායකයෙක් හැටියට වෙනම. අපේ දැන් ලංකාවට මේ සමුදයෙන් අපිට මොකක්ද තියෙනවද? මම දන්න විදිහට
As far as I know, we didn't get any specific advantage as such. I don't think the head of state was able to get anything. I went as the leader of a political party.
Meanwhile, US Ambassador to Sri Lanka has stressed that fairness is required in Sri Lanka's debt restructuring program.
The US Ambassador to Sri Lanka has reinforced the need for fairness in Sri Lanka's debt restructuring in her meeting with the Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Ambassador Julie Chung met with Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe in Colombo, where she extended congratulations on the IMF's staff-level agreement, marking progress in Sri Lanka's effort to secure the second IMF installment. Reinforcing the need for fairness in Sri Lanka's debt restructuring, the ambassador stressed the fact that equal and equitable treatment for all creditors is essential, while adding that transparency from every party involved is crucial. Posting on X, formerly known as Twitter, she stated that the United States remains committed to an economic landscape that values fairness, transparency, integrity and inclusivity, ensuring stability and growth in Sri Lanka. On the 19th of October, IMF staff and the Sri Lankan authorities reached a staff-level agreement on economic policies to conclude the first review of the 48-month EFF support program. Sri Lanka will have access to SDR 254 million in financing once the review is approved by IMF management and the IMF Executive Board. Meanwhile, parliamentarian Dr. Harsha De Silva revealed today that the process of debt restructuring does not seem to be fair. Dr. De Silva elaborated on a potential risk in making decisions in favour of private debt owners.
පුද්ගලික ණය හිමියන් යෝජනාවක් ඉදිරිපත් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ පුද්ගලික ණය හිමියන් ඉදිරිපත් කරලා තියෙන යෝජනා
The private creditors have submitted a proposal. In that proposal, they say that they expect this haircut or cut-off to be only 20%, that they are not ready to accept a 50% haircut, only 20%. However, going beyond that, they are trying to trap us further by saying that if the economy of our country grows in any way and the rate of economic growth is higher than the growth rate expected by the IMF, then the advantage should be given to the private creditors. We cannot allow this to happen at all. In fact, the EPF of the working class was given to bear this burden. If we, the working class citizens, have to bear the entire burden, and if there is an increase in the economic growth rate through it, then to whom should that benefit go? Should it go to the private creditors or to the working class citizens who are bearing such a huge burden? That is a fair question. Our people contribute to paying off this debt without even eating or drinking, and the benefit of it will go to an international creditor. We were stressing all this time that in the last few days when Nivad Cabral sold these bonds in the secondary market, some people calculated the interest rates for 3 months and 6 months, and some others calculated the interest rate for 1 year and received benefits that exceeded the accurate amount.
ඉන්ට්‍රස්ට් රේට් එක කැල්කියුලේට් කළා. සමහරු 100% ඉක්මවලා ප්‍රතිලාභ ලබා ගත්තා.
SLPP MP Namarajaka says President Ranil Wickremesinghe should have a clear understanding of coalition politics. Speaking to the media at the SLPP headquarters today, the MP said it is unacceptable that the failures of the government are attributed to the SLPP while its successes are credited to another faction. He was responding to questions from journalists on the recent cabinet reshuffle.
එක පැත්තකින් විදුලි බිල වැඩි වෙනවා. බදු බර වැඩි වෙනවා. ඒ වගේ වතුර බිල වැඩි කරනවා. තව අලුතෙන් බදු ගහන්න ඕනේ කියලා.
The electricity tariff has increased. The tax burden has increased. The water tariff has also increased. There is a call for more taxes while the cost of living is increasing. These allegations are directed to the SLPP government. However, on the other hand, decisions are made without consulting other parties. If those decisions bear fruit, the credit goes to another faction, and if they go wrong, the blame goes to the SLPP. I do not consider what happened as a cabinet reshuffle. I consider it as an exchange of cabinet positions. The president has a right to do that. The government also has a right to speak about this with the other coalition parties. If the president and government officials assume that these issues can be solved by changing positions, they are wrong. A budget is expected, and we believe the president would introduce a relief program in the budget.
ජනතාව මුහුණ පාලා තියෙන ආර්ථික අර්බුදයෙන් ගොඩ එන්න පුළුවන් කියලා හිතනවා නම් එයාට වැරදිලා. මම හිතන්නේ මේ වෙලාවේ අයවැයක් එනවා ඉදිරි කාල සීමාව තුල. ඉතින් අයවැයේදීවත් අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා ජනාධිපතිතුමා මේ රටේ ජනතාවට සහන දෙන වැඩපිළිවෙලක් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරයි.
දැන් ආසන්න වශයෙන් මිල වැඩි වුණේ විදුලියේ. දැන් ජනතාවගේ මතයක් තියෙනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොජ්ජන පෙරමුණ මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයා ඇතුළු ඔබතුමන්ලාත් එක්ක සාකච්ඡා කළා තමයි මේ තීරණ ගන්න කියලා. මේක ඇත්ත තත්ත්වයක් තියෙනවා.
The president made it clear that the electricity tariff was increased following talks with the IMF and not with the coalition parties. If political decisions are made following talks with the IMF, that is the process of that government. However, it impacts the people of this country. As a responsible political party, we need to make sacrifices to bring about political stability. The benefits of those sacrifices must be for the people. The SLPP is always ready to make those sacrifices, but the relief of it must be given to the people. The SLPP parliamentary group should reach a decision, and the party must also reach a decision. However, when the budget comes, we will look into it and thereafter reach a decision as a party. We first need to consider the contents of the budget. The policy of the opposition is to oppose everything. We need to see what will support the people and stability in the budget. We cannot wait until 2030 to ensure food is provided to children. We cannot wait until 2048 for development. We will see what will be presented by the president in the upcoming budget.
While Namal Rajpaksa spoke in that manner, Parliamentarian Rohita Begunawardena said the operations of the incumbent government cannot be jeopardized halfway. He made the following statement during another media briefing held at the headquarters of the SLPP.
දැන් මෙතන ආණ්ඩුව කියන්නේ එකක් පක්ෂ කියන්නේ එකක්. මේක හොඳට අපි මේක පටලව ගන්න අරගයි. ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදු ජන පෙරමුණ කියන්නේ ආණ්ඩුව.
The party and the government are two different entities. We should not get the two mixed up. The SLPP is a party of the government. However, we are not the only party in the government. We are not going to abandon it halfway through. If you cannot do it anymore, go and answer the people's questions. If the president cannot do it anymore, if the cabinet cannot do it anymore, they should leave. If not, there will be total anarchy. The country will become unstable once again. He is ready. Everything is ready. We will reveal the candidate when the time is right.
ඒක අදාළ කරගන්න එපා. අපි ඉන්නේ මේ නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ മന്ത്രിවරු අපි ඔක්කොම එකට ඉන්නේ කියලා. මොකද්ද මේ බෙදීම?
එතකොට මේ මහලේකම් කියන ප්‍රකාශය පක්ෂයේ ප්‍රකාශය.
The General Secretary's statement is made on behalf of the party. Maybe he has a different understanding. We must accept his statement as those made on behalf of the party. If he was not given any post within the cabinet, it could have been done during the days of the no confidence motion. But that is not what happened.
ඒක වෙන්න දෙන්න තිබුණා විශ්වාස භංගයේදී. එහෙම දෙයක් නෙවෙයි සිද්ධ වුනේ.
Education Secretary of the Frontline Socialist Party, Pubutu Jayagudu, says the failure to appoint an Inspector General of Police is the cause for the crisis between the parties within the government.
Two groups split in the government. Ranil Wickremesinghe's party and the SLPP are in a power struggle to appoint an Inspector General of their own. The SLPP is trying to appoint a puppet as their Inspector General. Ranil Wickremesinghe is trying to appoint a puppet of his own as the IGP. Therefore, this fiasco to appoint an Inspector General is a good measurement for the people to see how an IGP is appointed.
The Ministry of Defence has removed the names of two people who had been blacklisted due to their alleged support for terrorism.
Emil Kandan and Sanmukaraja, who were on Sri Lanka's blacklist for their alleged support for terrorism, were removed from this blacklist by the Ministry of Defence. The two, who are residents of Baunia and Jaffna, were blacklisted on the 21st of March 2014 due to their alleged support for terrorism-related activities. The Interpol Red Notice had been issued for the arrest of Emil Kandan on the 27th of June 2010. He had also been named as a respondent in the case filed against the mismanagement of 200 million rupees given to RADA to build houses for those who were affected by the 2014 tsunami. Emil Kandan was released from the charges against him on the 10th of July 2020. Emil Kandan was also accused of plotting to murder Douglas Devananda at the Kalutara prison in 1998. He was released from the charges. Minister Douglas Devananda, responding to journalists, expressed his view about the move to remove these individuals from the government's blacklist.
Murugesu Sri is a friend of my father. I knew him since I was a kid. I support this decision. There is nothing wrong here. The fact that I had an opinion regarding Emil Kandan is something different. But there is no issue now. There is no need to pick on old wounds. If Prabhakaran was alive and there was room for those incidents to happen again, that would have changed things. But there is no situation as such. Emil Kandan had come to Vaunia and he spoke to me before he did. He said that he was not involved in my incident. He said that he is going to join me in politics.
This is a revelation regarding the hardships faced by the children in Mathura who have been left helpless after their homes were flooded for the past 1.5 months.
Over the past few days, Newsfirst revealed details regarding the situation in Mathura. Malimbada, Valletota, Telvattegoda, Narangala and Ihalavitiyala are still flooded. Nothing has changed and water has not receded. Floodwaters in many of these houses have already reached 2 feet. Paddy lands have been devastated.
This is catastrophic. The people cannot raise their heads again. People have nothing to eat. We have no way to send our children to school or even purchase medicine. We are helpless.
This is the situation in Ihalakanda, Tihagoda. Academic activities of the children here have come to a grinding halt.
There are 2 children to travel in opposite directions after school. I have kept them here. We can't cook anything in the kitchen. This entire village is helpless.
I have nowhere to stay. If I did, I would have left. No one came to inquire into the situation after the second flood hit. If we get rat fever, we're gone. The floods continue. We don't have food. Many people here are day laborers. Their farmlands have been destroyed. These people here are being forced to live on the streets.
Children from Kadduwa, Malimbada, Katuwantuduwa, Balletota and several other areas were taken to school by the military. The Akuressa Pitabadra road is still flooded from Panadugama. The Godagama Sultanagoda road was flooded from Anduwa. The sheet piles laid to construct the salinity barrier in Piladuwa have not been removed as of yet. Although MPs and ministers say that they had summoned officials and taken necessary steps, it does not seem to be the case. What is happening is that steps are being taken to ease the digging of new canals. The army has intervened in this matter. In a few more days, it will be impossible to prevent the spread of diseases due to this deplorable state of affairs in Matara. Please, at least now, intervene.
The Parliamentary Committee appointed to investigate the clash between MP Danagamage and 2 MPs of the Samagi Janabalawege convened today. Evidence has already been summoned before the committee and its members are working diligently to conclude the matter.
Speaker Mahinda Apabewardena, elected to Parliament from the Mathura district, has appointed a committee to immediately investigate the recent parliamentarian clash. Deputy Speaker MP Ajit Rajapaksa is the chairman of the committee. Chamal Rajapaksa, Gayantha Karunatilaka, Minister Ramesh Patirana and Imtiaz Bakir Makar complete the committee.
We have conducted a complete preliminary investigation regarding the incident that took place on the day and the CCTV footage. Based on that preliminary investigation, we decided that the Minister of State P.L. Nishantha as the main witness who saw this incident completely at the moment. So we will be inviting him to the next committee. Apart from that, the committee decided today to call the 2 MPs involved in the incident, the Minister of State and all 3 to the next committee, and accordingly to get the support of 2 female MPs to make a decision.
Newsfirst with the people.
Most of the parties, as you said, they are willing to have elections, except the ruling coalition.
Tendency is quite to use these everyday issues that we face to bring out legislation that could be used to suppress the people.
We have historically seen that the Sri Lankan government, whatever government is in power, is really good at introducing legislation, signing on to international conventions, enacting laws, enacting so-called enabling legislation, but not enforcing.
Now we are in a situation where the elections are very strategically postponed.
Actually, only silver line is that actually it also under the structural benchmark that 16 recommendation made by the IMF.
Of course, some of our politicians are unelected, but most of them are elected. They seem to relish in this power to restrict the freedoms of the people.
They are waiting the best time for them to have an election. So that is why we couldn't have the local elections.
Face the Nation, Wednesday nights at 9:30 on TV1.
Men's T20 World Cup 2022.
England wins. It's a record partnership.
FIFA World Cup 2022.
Argentina, champions of the world.
Ireland Tour of Sri Lanka. Pakistan Tour of Sri Lanka. World Test Championship Final 2023. Men's World Cup Qualifiers 2023.
This is the start of fairy tale.
Asia Cup 2023.
Magnificent.
Rugby World Cup France 2023.
Another try. Talia has a double.
Men's World Cup India 2023. 2 World World Cups. One network, live and exclusive on TV1. Also watch it online at www.sirasatv.lk.
Sports Minister Roshan Ranessinghe was unable to attend a pre-planned event due to a protest staged by a group of teachers condemning the police assault on the teachers' protest held yesterday.
Sports Minister Roshan Ranessinghe was scheduled to lay the foundation stone for the construction of the playground of the Ibagamu Central School. The teachers who expressed their displeasure over the tear gas attacks on the teachers' protest held in Colombo yesterday protested against the minister's visit to the school premises. However, the minister did not attend the event. The Kandy District Secretary and other government officials attended the event.
The government ministers who brutally attacked the teachers and principals yesterday are trying to enter the school premises today. Try and come to the schools. We will take care of the rest. No one in this government is allowed to set foot inside a school. Should they be allowed to walk into schools after they attack teachers and principals?
Meanwhile, the teachers' associations held a joint press briefing to respond to the incident where tear gas and water cannons were fired to disperse protesting teachers.
We weren't even allowed to walk 25 feet after we started the march. The police fired tear gas and then assaulted us with batons and pressurized water. We would like to know if this is not a democratic country. Is this a police state? The government must be thinking that when the people may rise up against the increase in the price of electricity in line with the IMF program, when the education system in the country is being destroyed and when the health sector is collapsing. So they must be wondering if they assault and chase away the protesters before they can gain any momentum and everything will be all right. That will not happen. We would like to inform the government that they are making a big mistake. If Ranil Wickremesinghe is thinking that he can continue to stay in power if he keeps the people off the streets because Gotabaya was chased away by the people who got onto the streets, I would like to inform President Wickremesinghe that this will not happen. We know that no salaries have been increased since 2015. Therefore, both the public sector employees and the private sector employees will take all possible actions that we can. Our request is for 1/3 of the teachers' salaries in arrears to be paid through the budget proposal on the 13th of November. The Minister of Education promised the leaders of teachers' trade unions on 3 occasions to pay this amount. The appropriation bill has been presented. Nowhere in the appropriation bill has it been mentioned that this sum of money has been allocated. But they have allocated 2 times the amount of money allocated for education for the defense sector. Therefore, we would like to inform the government that they have committed a grave mistake and that we will take all possible measures that we can against this.
The Unity Trade Union Collective also expressed their views on this matter in Colombo today.
They are fighting to get the salary that is due to them. They have a right. They have a severe pay gap. That is a very fair request. The 225 in Parliament say that their salary is not enough. They increased all their fuel allowances and other insurance allowances. Now we are getting information that their salary will also increase. Does this mean these salary increments are only for the 225 in Parliament? Don't be unjust. Create an environment for people to live in. Give people a fair wage. A number of other sectors are also emphasizing that an allowance of 20,000 rupees should be given to them in this year's budget. This is the Trade Union Coordination Centre. In 2020, a kilo of rice was 80 rupees, now it is 200 rupees. The minimum bus fare, which was 12 rupees, is 30 rupees today. A litre of fuel, which was 140 rupees in 2020, is 360 rupees today. Gas cylinders, which was 1,400 rupees, is now priced at 3,600 rupees today. But the working people's income has not increased in any way to be able to get those goods and services compared to the increased price of those goods and services. These salaries have not increased.
වැටුප් වැඩි වෙලා නැහැ.
මේ නොවැම්බර් 13 වෙනිදා
Government employees must be given an allowance of 20,000 rupees or salary increment in the budget in November. On the 13th of November, all state employees will step out onto the street during their lunch hour on the 30th of this month.
එළියට බස්සනවා.
The 6th edition of Sports Tourism Forum and Raise the Pearl launched 2023 took place today at Colombo.
The countdown has begun to Raise the Pearl, the most epic, exotic and exciting cycle race across Sri Lanka. It is a 600-kilometer, 24-hour challenge down the length of Sri Lanka that promises to be both grueling and enjoyable, starting from Sri Lanka's northernmost spot of Point Pedro and ending on the beaches of the southernmost point of Dondra. This is the 6th edition of the race and it will be flagged off at 12:01 on the 28th of October. The launch event of Raise the Pearl was held in Colombo on the 25th of October.
I'm happy to announce that ESFM is a part of Raise the Pearl 2023. We've been there with Raise the Pearl from the inception. This is the consecutive 4th time that we have been part of the Raise the Pearl. Sri Lanka cycling is getting really popular year on year and people are getting into the professional level of riding. We as the Capital Maharaj organization, we are always been supporting all sports in Sri Lanka.
Dozens of foreign and local cyclists have traditionally competed in this event and the numbers are expected to swell this year. Competitors have a choice of racing solo or in a relay team consisting of up to 5 members. This particular route promises to be breathtaking indeed as it skirts several wildlife parks and is surrounded by nature. The journey consists of 4 pit stops in Vaunia, Dambulla, Mahayangana and Vallavaya. Yes 101 is the proud media partner of the race.
The 51st anniversary banquet dinner of the Institute of Supply and Materials Management took place in Colombo yesterday.
The Institute of Supply and Materials Management is the only national institute in Sri Lanka in the field of supply chain management. Prior to the banquet dinner, a seminar was conducted under the theme Reshaping the Future of Sri Lanka through Supply Chain Ecosystem. Eminent scholars in the supply chain profession, industry experts and employees attended the full-day seminar and the National Supply Chain Excellence Awards 2023, which coincided with the 51st anniversary celebrations of ISMM.
Taking a look back at some other news where protesters were against the increase in electricity tariffs, the Citizens of the People's Struggle organization commenced a protest opposite the Ministry of Power and Energy this afternoon. The group pointed out that due to the current economic situation, the public has been further affected by the increase in electricity tariffs. The Citizens of the People's Struggle organization urged the government to slash electricity tariffs immediately.
ඒකෙන්ද අපි කියනවා විදුලි බිල අකණ්ඩ විරෝධ හැම නගරෙම පවත්වන්න. නැත්තම් මේ ආණ්ඩුව මට්ටු කරන්න වෙන්නේ නැහැ. උන්නීති හදනවා. උංගඩ පොඩක් ගේනවා. උංග අපිට කියනවා බොල දැන් අපි කියන දෙයට පල්ලා කියලා. ඒකින්ද කියනවා පාලකයන්ට ධන ගැහුවා ඉවරයි මල ඉස්සරහා. ඒ තරම් ජනතාව පීඩනක ජීවත් වෙන්නේ. ඒකද මේ රටේ සමස්ත පුරවැසියෝ වෙනුවෙන් අපි කියනවා අපි රැවටුණා. අපි රැවටුණා.
This protest was held at the Urugudavatta junction. The protest was organised by the Samagijana Balabegya. Another protest organised by the Samagijana Balabegya was held in Digana today.
Medical shortages in Gaza are forcing hospitals to shut down as Israeli airstrikes continue its bombardment of the Strip.
Speaking before the 15-member United Nations Security Council on Tuesday, Antonio Guterres pleaded for civilians to be protected and warned that the fighting risked a wider conflagration in the region.
It is important to also recognize the attacks by Hamas did not happen in a vacuum. The Palestinian people have been subjected to 56 years of suffocating occupation. But the grievances of the Palestinian people cannot justify the appalling attacks by Hamas, and those appalling attacks cannot justify the collective punishment of the Palestinian people.
The Secretary-General's comments were strongly opposed by Israel and they have called for his resignation. Israel's United Nations Ambassador Gilad Erdan posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, quote, his statements that the attacks by Hamas did not happen in a vacuum expressed an understanding of terrorism and murder, unquote. He also added, quote, it is truly sad that the head of an organization that arose after the Holocaust holds such horrible views, unquote. The Hamas-run government in Gaza says 80 people were killed by overnight Israeli airstrikes. Israel is stopping new fuel supplies reaching Gaza but accuses Hamas of stockpiling hundreds of thousands of liters. Hospitals are stopping all but emergency services as fuel runs out. The United Nations, the biggest aid provider in Gaza, says its work will stop tonight if it does not receive fresh supplies. United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres has renewed his demand for a ceasefire in Gaza and said that international law was being violated in the war between Israel and the Palestinian armed group Hamas. According to foreign media, the Hamas-run Ministry of Health in Gaza has put out a statement on Telegram saying that hospitals in the Gaza Strip have completely collapsed. It also warned that hospital doors remaining open does not mean that they are providing service to the flood of wounded people. The statement added a plea for the international community to supply hospitals with fuel to send, quote, specialized medical delegations to rescue those wounded in the Israeli aggression, unquote, and called for all retired colleagues and volunteers from all specialities to join hospitals immediately. Some 8 trucks arrived in Gaza late yesterday carrying water, food and medicine as well. However, United States President Joe Biden said that humanitarian aid has not been arriving quickly enough. The Hamas-run Health Ministry says that Israel has continued its heavy bombing of Gaza, saying almost 5,800 people have been killed since the 7th of October. More than 1,400 were killed in the attacks on Israel by Hamas gunmen who raided communities near the border, targeting civilians. Foreign media reported at least 5,791 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli attacks on Gaza.
A roundtable discussion took place yesterday in Colombo under the theme Israel-Hamas conflict, the recent eruption.
The roundtable discussion was moderated by Professor Kamini Kiravalla and the discussion consisted of 4 panelists. The panel consisted of former Foreign Secretary Ambassador Bernard Gunatilaka, former Foreign Secretary Ambassador S. Palyakara, journalist Lynn Okers and journalist Prasad Donankodage. The panel discussion on topics like how the Israel-Hamas conflict is a global issue and how this conflict will affect the tourism industry were discussed. On the morning of the 7th of October, Hamas launched one of the biggest surprise attacks on Israel in which it fired a barrage of rockets from the Gaza Strip and the security barriers were breached by the gunmen. The attack on the 7th of October came 50 years after Egyptian and Syrian forces launched an assault in an effort to retrieve territory Israel had taken over during a brief conflict in 1967.
Most of the parties, as you said, they are willing to have elections, except the ruling coalition.
Tendency is quite to use these everyday issues that we face to bring out legislation that could be used to suppress the people.
We have historically seen that the Sri Lankan government, whatever government is in power, is really, really good at introducing legislation, signing on to international conventions, enacting laws, enacting so-called enabling legislation, but not enforcing.
Now we are in a situation where the elections are very strategically postponed.
Actually, only silver line is that actually it also under the structural benchmark that 16 recommendation made by the IMF.
Of course, some of our politicians are unelected, but most of them are elected. They seem to relish in this power to restrict the freedoms of the people.
They are waiting the best time for them to have an election. So that is why we couldn't have the local elections.
Face the Nation, Wednesday nights at 9:30 on TV1.
Men's T20 World Cup 2022.
England wins. It's a record partnership.
FIFA World Cup 2022.
Argentina, champions of the world.
Ireland Tour of Sri Lanka. Pakistan Tour of Sri Lanka. World Test Championship Final 2023. Men's World Cup Qualifiers 2023.
This is the start of fairy tales.
Asia Cup 2023.
Magnificent.
Rugby World Cup France 2023.
Another try. Talia has a double.
Men's World Cup India 2023. 2 World Cups, 1 network, live and exclusive on TV1. Also watch it online at www.sirasatv.lk. The official ICC Men's Cricket World Cup India 2023.
The ICC Cricket World Cup 2023 encounter between Australia and the Netherlands took place today at the Arun Jaitley Cricket Stadium, New Delhi. Australia, batting first after winning the toss, put up a mammoth total of 399 for the loss of 8 wickets. David Warner and Glenn Maxwell were the pick of the batsmen, scoring 104 and 106 runs each. Netherlands replying were bowled out for just 90 runs of 21 overs, with Adam Zampa picking 4 wickets for just 8 runs of his 3 overs. Now cricket fans can watch and listen to all the action of the World Cup via the MTV NBC networks, the official local broadcast rights holder of the tournament. The matches are also being streamed live on www.sirasatv.lk.
A book written on the human-elephant conflict was launched in Colombo today.
The book, named The Human-Elephant Conflict Created Through the Scam of Development, was authored by researcher and environmentalist Sanjeeva Chamikara. Many representatives from environment and animal welfare societies, farming communities and others attended the event. In the Hambantota district, wild elephants don't roam in the jungle. They had a land to roam on. Elephant fences are not the answer. This matter aggravated under the Rajapaksa government because the elephant management reserve was lost. The port, an international conference hall, a flower garden, zoo, the cricket stadium and the Mattal International Airport was constructed in the heart of the elephant management reserve. We saw what happened to Hambantota through the National Infrastructure Plan. Various laws and cabinet decisions were linked to this. When certain commercial farming projects arise, we think they are isolated incidents, but they are linked to the National Infrastructure Plan and the IMF and World Bank recommendations. Plans are underway to seed 70,000 acres for a sugarcane project in Vaunia. By today, the Department of Wildlife Conservation has removed itself from the aspect of conservation.
And with that, wrap up Primetime News for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Do take care and good night.